CM Punk has joined AEW, and he's ready to return to action after being away from pro wrestling for 7 years. Although the former WWE champion has no intentions of returning to the WWE, there are quite a few backstage stories from his tenure in the company that are interesting. I'm Kevin, and here are 5 interesting WWE backstage stories you might not know about CM Punk. Number 5. The Undertaker doesn't like the clothes you're wearing, CM Punk. The Undertaker is one of the most highly respected personalities in all of professional wrestling, was regarded as the locker room leader during his time in WWE, and even was the judge of several wrestling courts, and ensured that everything remained in order. The Undertaker reportedly confronted Punk for his casual attire despite being the WWE champion in the spirit of his role as the backstage locker room leader. Punk retorted this challenge by citing John Cena as an example, and argued that he does the same thing. That's right, John Cena's wearing jorts all the time. Jorts. Those calves can breathe, baby. However, he admitted he didn't want to actually have this issue or conflict, and whether or not this exchange was a serious talking to or simply just some delightful ribbing is not really publicly known. Number 4. CM Punk once knocked out Michael Cole's tooth? While Punk impressed several fans with his in-ring prowess and his hard-hitting blows, he once landed one on Michael Cole that got him into trouble. The incident dates back to Cole's infamous build-up to a match against Jerry Lawler at WrestleMania 27. The story goes that Punk accidentally knocked out Cole's tooth when they were both messing around backstage. Later, Punk offered to pay for Cole's dental fees for causing the injury. The veteran WWE commentator was more worried that he was merely a few hours away from performing on the grandest stage of them all. So much so that even WWE boss Vince McMahon hated it, and no one paid attention to his missing chomper. Number 3. The misdiagnosis in WWE. Back in 2013, CM Punk worked through an untreated MRSA staph infection. However, WWE's medical staff reportedly never diagnosed the bacterial infection despite Punk's repeated requests. Information about this is conflicting depending on who you talk to, but it is a very serious situation nonetheless. Punk kept working until his wife and former WWE superstar AJ Lee decided to interfere. She forced him to see a private doctor who confirmed that Punk had a staph infection and stated, quote, "You could have died." After leaving WWE, he sued the medical staff for negligence. Another incident was at the Royal Rumble match in 2014 that added trouble. A mistimed clothesline from Kofi Kingston led to Punk suffering a concussion. Punk never blamed Kingston, but added that when Dr. Chris Amon arrived at the scene, he shockingly asked the straight edge leader, "What do you want me to do?" Punk somehow composed himself in the middle of the match, but walked out of the WWE the very next day. Number 2. WWE releases CM Punk on his wedding day. Punk's relationship with WWE went from bad to baffling towards its end, but this incident was the final nail in the coffin. After the former WWE champion decided to walk out following Royal Rumble 2014, company representatives handed him a 2-month suspension via text. Later, Triple H reached out to Punk, and the two reportedly agreed to have a discussion after the latter returned from his honeymoon. However, that discussion never happened. He was informed of his contract ending, and Punk later described the incident as, quote, "very calculated and very deliberate." This situation led to a legal battle, but this time Punk settled with WWE on mutual terms. Number 1. CM Punk was set to win the Royal Rumble. Back in 2008, CM Punk was supposed to win the Rumble. However, plans change, pal, when John Cena returned way ahead of schedule following a torn pectoral injury. As a result, WWE decided to have him as a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble at Madison Square Garden and win the entire thing, instead of our tattooed hero from Chicago, CM Punk. But come on, remember the way the crowd popped for that? Yeah, it was still cool. CM Punk himself commented on the scenario, saying, "I was supposed to win the Royal Rumble. Then John Cena comes back after 3 months from a torn pec. Thanks a lot, John." Cena would eventually eliminate Triple H to win the Royal Rumble. If not for the last-minute change, Punk would have headlined WrestleMania 24 in Florida with a match against either Randy Orton, the WWE champion, or the then World Heavyweight champion, Edge. Instead, he competed at the Show of Shows in a ladder match to win the Money in the Bank contract.